Hello everyone and welcome back to the Dungeoneer's Tavern, where today we will be talking about the best tips and tricks to make your BBEG something. Today we have just me and Martin Ligations. We couldn't have Dark Crazy this time, even though we noticed how much he made the videos better somehow. Either that or just, luck. But we're gonna say he made the videos better and more interesting by rambling on for half worth of the entirety of the video. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started. Here are the ground rules. We'll just be talking about things to make typical BBEGs better, advice we would give to DMs just to make their games more interesting or worthwhile, and considerate of every type of player, even the murder hobos, no matter how much we try to ignore them. Anyway, let's get started. Martin, if you will.
So the first tip that I have for making a compelling BBEG is that sometimes your BBEG is just the target where players can slash their swords, fireballs, arrows, glaives into, and then just feel good about doing a good thing. Sometimes you just want to run a BBEG like Yino, the Lord of Savagery, whose sole purpose in life is to wreak havoc all over the material plane. Now, of course, if you are running a BBEG like this to really make him compelling, you kinda gotta show, like, why this villain is so awful. Give your players a good reason to drive their glaive into him. Like, if you're running Yi no Gu, the Lord of Savagery, and then you show him just relaxing in the field, bathing in the sun, or whatever, and chilling, your players aren't going to be like, well, we should totally murder that guy and feel good about it. But if your players investigate a village after a rampage by Yi Dogu and his gnolls, shredding everything up, leaving the mutilated corpses of all of their victims behind them. Your players are gonna want to stop him and get revenge. And if you're running a villain like that, you gotta have your players want to kill them. You gotta make your villain the target for their weapons and spells so that they kill him and feel good about themselves. Because sometimes all that a BBEG needs to be is someone you kill and then feel good that you did a good thing. But you gotta make sure your players will feel good about doing a good thing. Unless they're murder hobos who just want to kill everyone, in which case the villain can be the Solar of Mount Celestia who goes around helping everybody and doing good, and then your players can kill him and feel really good about themselves anyways. But if they're not like that, then you'd probably be better off with Yi no Gu or another Demon Lord. Most Demon Lords work well for that kind of BBEG. I, as a player, like those kinds of BBEGs, to be honest.
Yeah. One thing I found out amongst my years of DMing, more powerful BBEG doesn't necessarily mean better. It was a
Yeah.
sad realization for me, but it was a realization I needed to make.
Sometimes the Flind leading the Gnoll warband will be just as great an overarching antagonist as Yi no Gu himself. Wise words there, man.
Yes.
And what other wisdom do you have to share with us?
Well, in one of my famous games from whenever I was first starting to truly DM, there was, the Black Blade Return of the Forgotten King. Whenever I was really getting into the groove of DMing, but wasn't quite there yet,
Yeah.
it was very hard to keep that consistency of, hey, this is the bad guy, go kill, because one of my players, it did make it a bit of a complex situation. I will not specify names, or the many that there are, but Um, Also, if there is a key piece of information that your players need in order to find out, let's say, the main weakness of the villain, or like just something that is key through the entire campaign, my advice, don't hide it behind a skill check, because if they do fail, um, you'll either just like say, hey, roll again, and at that point they will know, okay, we're just gonna keep rolling until we get it, which sort of breaks the immersion, and they're almost like they're exploiting the system. And if you aren't like that and they still fail, that is a key piece of whatever that is now lost for the campaign.
I also remember that campaign, and I'd like to share a bit of something you did well for that game. Originally in that game, Sarwin was just sort of the guy who was the big bad guy, and we were all like looking for him, like, we need to kill this guy before he destroys the world or whatever. But eventually, when the rogue stole the sword and ran off with it, I never liked the rogue to be honest, but still, the rogue messed up a bit. Because they like tried to play a game with him where they flip a coin, and if they rolled heads, they get to keep his sword, and if they rolled tails, Sarwin would just get to do whatever he wanted with them. And they rolled tails, and Sarwin annihilated him and took both of the really cool swords he had. And not only did that made the party mad. That made the party want to kill him more than just to save the world. That made us want to chop off his head for personal reasons. And if you want to run a good BBEG, you need to make it personal to your party, to be honest. Like the town that Yidogu massacres, that's got to be like their hometown. They got to have a personal stake in it. You got to make your party really want to care about killing this guy beyond just, oh, let's save the world. Cause, cause anyone can save the world, but you gotta save your world, if you know what I mean, as a player.
Truly amazingly, wonderfully spoken words. Yeah. Best way to entice your players into pursuing a campaign or maybe a whole plot storyline, make it, yes, just like Martin said, make it personal. Maybe, I don't know, because I know in an older campaign that I ran, the players had like this recurring theme of like, you know, their village was slaughtered by a masked mysterious man, and that was their driving force. So I was like, okay, so I can actually work with this and make the BBEG that exact person. I described the scar over his eye because I gave him a scar for whatever reason. So as a key identifying feature,
Mhm.
um, and he wrote on a nightmare. Stats are not in description. I am just look it up yourself. Get a book. Anyway,
Mhm.
and he just rampaged about like a force of nature, just causing havoc. And that's basically what, like, he wasn't entirely mortal. He was more of a force of nature, and that made it even more intense for the party to try and stop him.
Yeah. Now, generally, we have said earlier that sometimes the BBEG for your party, um, stronger doesn't always equal better, but sometimes stronger can equal better. Like sometimes your party doesn't need to like kill Yinogu if he's rampaging about. Maybe your party just needs to find a way to banish him back to the abyss, and they'll have fun with that. Maybe this is not something that all parties will enjoy, but sometimes parties will have fun if the villain isn't someone they can take on and defeat in personal combat. Because not all players are about combat. Sometimes your players will want to like explore a dungeon to search for the means to send Yinoga back to the abyss. Negotiate with the king to allow them access to his talisman to send Yinoga back to the abyss. Sometimes they'll just want to kill him. The way to defeat your BBEG, what I'm saying is, you should always make your BBEG defeatable by whatever ways the party most prefers to play the game. If your party loves murdering, your BBEG is a glaive target. If your party loves exploring, your BBEG is someone who the party delves into ancient ruins to find the secret for how to defeat. If your party likes RPing, maybe they don't even have to defeat your villain. Maybe they could just convince him to become a good guy again. Maybe they'd have fun with that. Maybe your players just would love that happy ending where they punch the villain, and then he becomes their friend, and then they walk off into the sunset together. I prefer killing villains, but I'm not everyone.
Yeah. In my most early days as a DM, it was, and I'm pretty sure Martin can most likely vouch for me on this and say, yeah, you were definitely like that, is I struggled trying to, between all of that, trying to think which one is actually better for everyone. I would switch between pure combat, pure RP, investigation. Like, I was a chaotic mess back in my true DM days, or whenever I was just starting.
Hey, we
But
still
in
had a
the end,
lot of
we
fun.
had,
And
yeah,
to be
in the end,
honest,
we still had tons of fun. And I really do appreciate those days that we had, like, as a starting party. Because, one, it gave me experience, and two, it gave me a natural ibuprofen for the headaches that Martin it gives me.
that's true, that's true. And sometimes, yeah, balancing ways for your BBEG to be defeated, a bunch of different ways. If you throw all of them into the game, maybe to defeat Yinogu, your party has to like weaken him to by burning his legendary resistances in combat, to use their talisman that they found in the dungeon to bind him. Well, the priest they recruited from the king using their RPing skills, um, has to tie him up with his magic little ritual and send him back to the abyss. Maybe your party needs to get multiple steps to defeat a villain like that.
Yeah. Going back to the Forgotten King situation, because there were multiple defeats for Sorrowin. And one of those technically was that finding out ancient secrets thing, though back then it was very rushed to that ancient secret, but it was still very much same concept. You know, there was this scroll that apparently contained a spell that sealed away a similar being to what Sorrowin was. And so the party was like, okay, we can probably use this and do that. Which that did end up being, at least temporarily, the solution. Temporarily meaning he came back after a few thousand years after the party was dead,
Yeah.
which started off another campaign. Same-ish group. Martin was there for almost all of them. Actually, I think all of them.
Yep, I was. But also, I want to make a note about recurring villains. Recurring villains are only good if you have a solid reason as to why they occur again. Like, if your party goes to the Abyss, destroys Inogu's demon talisman, demon amulet, not talisman, sorry. The lore doesn't matter for this. But what I'm saying is, if your party goes to the Abyss, kills Inogu, destroys his demon amulet, he shouldn't come back. He should be dead. Like, when we send Sarwin to Karsurai, I was kind of expecting him to come back, because we only banish him. Like, if your party banishes Inogu back to the Gaping Maw, then he should be able to come back. You can use him as the villain for your next campaign. But if you kill Inogu in the Abyss, destroy him permanently, he shouldn't come back. Recurring villains need a good reason to come back, otherwise they won't be satisfying. When your player gets a permanent victory, that should be a permanent victory for them.
Awesome.
Your party, I won't have fun fighting Inogu if they've already killed Inogu before and he should be dead. Then you should move on to Demogorgon or Zagut or Baphomet, because there are plenty of Demon Lords in the Abyss. There are plenty of BBEGs you can use, and if your old BBEG dies, then they're dead. Just like when your PCs die and they make new character sheets, you should always keep it fresh. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Also ignore the cutoff part. I accidentally messed up in the recording it, so we're here now. But anyways, I've also noticed that you and I have been discussing very different villains here. Yinogu, the Knoll Lord, the Beast of Butchery, the chaotic evil aspect of furry memes. I don't like him for furry memes. I like him because he's genuinely cool. But he's also the furry memes guy. And you are talking about an ancient wizard, Sarwin Eldest, who's more, lawful evil than chaotic evil, if I'm right.
Yes.
But I'd also like to note that despite their differences, both of them are good villains. Yunogu is a good villain for a party who just wants to crusade against the bad guys and win. And Sarwin is a good villain for a party who wants to defeat an ancient wizard king like Vecna. But Vecna and Sarwin are kind of different.
One actually achieved divinity, one kind of didn't make it there.
Yeah. But, Vecna, Sarwin, Yinogu, Zariel, the General of Gehenna, Lord of the Yugoloths, any of them can be a good villain if you make them right, despite their differences. There's no one right way to make a villain. As long as your party, as long as you build a villain that's satisfying for the party to fight, you give them a reason to make it personal. They really want to beat that guy and win against him. Hell, your villain could even be an adult gold dragon if that dragon's pursuit of justice has accidentally messed with the characters. Like maybe a plague afflicted their town, and the dragon burnt their entire town down to stop the spread of the plague or the curse. That can be an antagonist. That can be someone who your players want to kill, and they don't even have to be evil. Like they did something, or maybe they're like even doing something currently that there's a reason why it should be done. But sometimes your players are just gonna, unless your players like are really big fans of being the good guys, you don't want to put a good villain against them if your players are the good guys. Unless you're putting Fizzban against a party of murder hobos, the bad kind, because there's a good kind of murder hobos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All are really good points. The main thing to take away from this is a good BBEG or the perfect BBEG doesn't truly exist. It all depends on the party's dynamic and like how they are run, how the
Yeah,
party sort of presents themselves. If you have a party full of, basically paladins, I'll say, then yeah, Inogu would be a good villain because they are on that crusaded pursuit of justice. If you have a party that are more complex thinkers and try to see an even better solution than what is you typically presented to them, then yeah, you'll want to have a more complex and mysterious villain. And if your party just wants to watch the whole world burn, that is very easy to work with, though not easy to handle, in my opinion. But it's easy to work with for in the case of a BBEG, because the BBEG could literally be anyone.
yeah.
Mostly people that are just treating the party like jerks.
I made an analogy earlier to a BBEG sort of being like a DM's character sheet. When they die, the DM shouldn't roll out a new character sheet that's literally the exact same guy. And I feel like that analogy works a little bit here too. Like a party composition in D&D is something you gotta work with. You want to have a support character, you want to have a fighter character who kills people, you want to have you can really make a bunch of different combos. But the party, they have synergy with each other, and maybe you could think of your BBEG like another member of the party when you're making them, kind of in a way. Like you make them to synergize with the party, much like the party is all making their characters to synergize with each other. The BBEG, just like them, is a key part of your world, and your world is all interconnected, you know? And the BBEG is part of that. And the players are too.
Wonderfully said. Beautifully spoken. I got nothing left.
I have nothing left either. We hope that this advice will help you to make amazing BBEGs in your future, and that maybe one of them will be Yeenog, the Knoll Lord, or perhaps Sarwin the Forgotten King. Perhaps they've made an unlikely alliance of sorts to I don't know. What would they ally for?
I have no idea. I know Drake Delvin, which did align with Yinogu kinda ish.
Oh yeah, I get that. When he wanted to brainwash the Knoll pup.
Yeah. No, he wanted to break its neck.
Oh, I thought he wanted to brainwash it too. Did he want to
No,
brainwash it?
he wanted to break its neck because slaughter.
Ah, yes. Right, right.
Anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and if you have any interesting stories as a DM or as a player about the BBEG, let us know down in the comments below. Also, link to the Discord down in the description. Other than that, I'll see you all in the next one.
Bye.